Judy said, rule number one, no butt to the audience. So she meant quit hugging her, I think. All right, we got the thing here. Thanks, Robert, for doing that. I asked Robert if he would sing that because that kind of had special meaning to me. And there's a story that I want to tell you. When I met Fred, who was the love of my life, and you know how, I don't know, we had this conversation and we were driving back from San Francisco, and this was the moment I knew that I fell in love with him. I just knew that I loved him. And it was when he told me about his mom. And his first memory, we were talking about first songs we remember, like the earliest song we ever remember. And that was his song that he remembered, was this song. And it was like 1958, he was like 4 or 5 years old, I think, at that time. And so he tells me the story that she was kind of a sad person, you know, not a lot of, you know, he loved her, but she loved him, but there was this kind of sadness to her. But he remembers getting up one morning, and she's got one of those old-time radios with the big Knox brown, you know what I'm talking about, those old ones. We had one in our house too. And he said he got up in the morning and she had that song playing, and she was cooking, you know, bacon and stuff, and she was dancing around to it. And he said it was like this new person. There was this joy inside of her that was unleashed, that just came out that he'd never seen before. And he said, I think it was that dance that did it, was that song, Sugar in the Morning, Sugar in the Evening. So we, you know, that was his first. I want you guys too to think about your first song you ever remember as a kid. You know, I kind of started to think about this, and mine was Mama's Little Baby Love, Shortening. Remember that one? You know, that was kind of the first song. So think back, you know, I mean, for no reason, but it's kind of fun to talk about that. But anyway, so when he was telling me that, you know, I just saw there was kind of like this, I could just see he just really loved his mother. And I guess any man that loves their mother that much, you know, I just fell in love with. And, you know, we got to talking about, you know, this feeling that dance brings out, because we used to go out dancing and we always had fun, you know, so much doing it. But he said something like there was this joy that was stuck in her until it came out in the dance. And that's how it was kind of unleashed. And I think about it as kind of like this God stuff inside of us, that place that we talk about, that we bury up with, like Judy was saying, with embarrassment in our head. We get our head in the way, so we can't unleash it. We can't jump out there and act stupid because our head gets in the way, you know? And when we can move our bodies, you know, and when we can dance, and when we can just quit worrying about what everybody else thinks and let your heart just, you know, go at it. When you can just like be who you are, let God express through you, because that's what dance is, I think, for me, is being able to, you know, not worry what anybody thinks. I mean, I'm not a good dancer, but I'm not afraid to do it, you know, and I love it. And it just like touches something inside of me. And anyway, when he said that there was something unleashed, I remembered that. And I remembered that each of us, if we really know who we are, we're not just these little bodies that are sitting here in a skin. You know, we're consciousness. We are a moving, dynamic center. Just what Judy said, we move, but our consciousness moves. And it's the space where the divine is, the space where God is in us. And we spend most of the time, see, in the skin, on the surface of life, with these daily details of life, you know, in this thing that people call the ordinary existence. You know, from day to day, we got to do our stuff. We got to write this and do this and go do this. And I think most of us hunger. Even I don't even think that, I know it from talking to so many of you and seeing it, that most of us hunger to connect to that Sugar Time song. You know, to that, maybe it's not your song, but there's something in you that God energy, that, you know, Sugar in the Morning does it for me, right? Or something like that does it for me. And we long, we yearn, and that's yearning for God. That's what that is. It's a yearning for life to move through you. It's a yearning for the universe to move through us so that we feel alive and we can connect to that moving center that is in us. We can connect. See, we're stuck in the mud. We are. You know, we get stuck because of life. And we forget that we have that joy to unleash inside of us. And we got to do and think, and there's sad things in life. But boy, I give you credit, Jude. You know, that's hard. It is so hard to do that, especially everything that you've gone through. But that's how you do it. You do it anyway. You get up and you move and you make a choice. You make a choice, you're going to do it anyway. You know, it's a special place in each of us. It's a place where we can begin to explore who we are. It's a place of aliveness in us. And it's a place where we can learn about who we really are. See, we think we're something else. If I was to ask most people, you know, they would tell me what they did for a living and who they were and what they've done with their life. But that's not who you are. Who you are is an alive center, a dynamic, incredible expression of God. And we don't show that enough. We don't show it. See, I think when we dance, and not Judy's right, I'm not just talking about dancing, although that gets me moving. It kind of cuts through to the center. But when we disappear into something bigger, it changes us, right? There's something in us that is safe, even though it might not feel safe at the beginning. You notice when it's at the beginning that you start to, you know, oh, what are they thinking of me, you know? But it's after you're into it, all of a sudden it just feels so good. It's like it's this God's unleashed and you're all over the place. That's what it is. It's an expression. We dance to fall in love. We dance to fall in love with each other, with the universe, with life itself. You know, I can remember, I've always loved dance. And when I was 15, I used to barricade myself in my room and listen to the Rolling Stones and, you know, to the stuff, and it would just be, you know, beating down. My parents would yell up and hit the wall, you know, quit, you know, and I would just be going because I loved it. I could feel the beat with me. You know, it was the best times of my life. You know, it's because now I look back, I didn't know at the time, but it was letting God dance me. See, it's letting life dance me at that time. And that's what I think when we feel it. I remember Janice Meyer was a girl that I grew up with. We were in 6th grade, and I was just little, and I was into these, you know, into dancing. And I had 45 records. I used to, even when I was 18, work at record stores. Remember the 45s? And you turn it over, and there'd be what's on the flip side, you know. And I think it was Return to Sender. Remember that one? Elvis Presley. Address unknown, no such number. Anyway, I was really getting into this song, and I almost am now too. But anyway, she couldn't dance. Her religion wouldn't let her dance, but she did it anyway. I said, how could, you know what? There's no religion. They're wrong. I used to tell her, I said, that's wrong. Come and dance anyway. And so she did. We used to go to my bedroom and then dance and pretend we were the Supremes, you know, and did all the stuff that, you know, was letting God be unleashed. And I think she felt better afterwards, you know, for it. So anyway, what I know is that, you know, inside each of us, there is this incredible force that has to be unleashed. It just does. And Martha Graham, she was the modern dance, the teacher of modern dance, this beautiful modern dancer. And I've always loved her quote. I've always said, you know, I've read this quote before, and I've said, oh, this quote's my favorite stuff. But this really is, this writing that she says means a lot to me. So I'm going to read it, and I want to talk about it for a minute, because it's kind of what we're talking about now. There's a song out, I don't know if you guys, probably a lot of you don't know what Justin Timberlake, you know him. And he says, I got this feeling in my body, right? You know what I'm talking about, that song? And I wanted to play it, you know, too, but I didn't know if everybody would know it. But that's what we're talking about. There comes this feeling where you want to jump up and say, God's in me, God's in me. Okay, so here's what she says about it. She says, there is a vitality, there's a life force, there's an energy, a quickening that is translated through you into action. And because there's only one you in all of time, this expression is unique, right? Are you with me so far? So there's this quickening, there's this unique expression that is going to be translated through uniquely you. There's nobody other than you. You know, there's not another Tom, there's not another Blaine, and there never will be. And she says that if you block it, it will never exist through any other medium, and it will be lost. It will be lost. It doesn't have to be dance. But there's a yearning in you that has to be expressed. And Bob, I thought about you and I thought about your book, right? And so there was a yearning to do your book, to write your life, and you got up and you did it. You know, and you keep saying, why don't I do that and stuff? That yearning hasn't hit that part of me yet. But that yearning was in you, and that book could never be written by anybody else because it had to be expressed through you uniquely. Do you understand what I'm saying? each one of us have something in us that has to be expressed uniquely, whether it's just talking to somebody else, whether it's, I don't know what it is. It can be anything. See? And then this is the second part of, I know you're hot, I'm hot too. It is not your business to determine how good it is, or how valuable it is, or how it compares with other people's expressions. You told me that. You told me that when I said about my book, oh, I wouldn't be good enough. You said it doesn't matter. And that's what she's saying. You don't have to judge it. It is your business, though, to keep it yours clearly and directly, to keep the channel open. Right? To keep your channel open. You do not even have to believe in yourself or your work. You have to keep yourself open and aware so that that urge motivates you. So that you keep your channels open. So that's what I want to talk about. You've got to know who you are. You've got to open your channel and not be afraid. You've got to get out there and let life live you. You've got to let life live you. And I remember when we were doing the class, I got this urge to do this Evolve class, and I can remember every night I would wake up with these ideas. For a while I just kind of put them down, and then I started to write them, and I started to write, and I started to write, and prepared this class. It was a good class. I think a lot of people got a lot out of it. And that's what I'm talking about. When you get an urge to do something, there's nobody else that can express it like you do, because it's your urge. It's God talking to you. And that's what I'm talking about, that you tapped into something bigger. You tapped into something bigger because your channels were open. See? And it doesn't matter how old we are. Sometimes we say, oh, I can't dance with life. And the truth is that, yeah, you know what? You don't grow old, you grow onward. Maybe you grow old and onward, too. But, that's what you do. You just keep growing. Our job is just to stay in the flow of life, because life is this constant process of growth, And I think eventually we just keep growing on to our next life. When we die, we just grow on. We grow onward. So here's what Eric Butterworth says about this. And then I'm going to close with this. But I love this, and it's important for all of us to remember this. Contrary to the common human belief, we do not begin to slow down because we are becoming old. We are becoming old because we are slowing down. The cells of our body are like water in a river. Judy mentioned that. Motion helps them to stay in the flow and to purify them. There are literally thousands of moping people who could renew their strength and youthfulness, to say nothing of finding freedom from aches and pains, if they would simply stir themselves in mind and body and get into the flow of consciousness, into the swim of activities. The wisdom of the world has conditioned us to act our age. I don't want to act my age. Now we must begin to act our youth, right? We must begin to act that way, to experience the flow in our life. And that's what this call is about, is that I think this flow is sugar time, right? That's sugar time. It's that unleashing joy in us. That's the flow of life. And it has to be unleashed in your unique way. How are you going to do it? That's my call to each of us. Go out and find that, joy unleashed. That what does Butterworth call it? The imprisoned splendor. I love that. You got that in you. That's got to be released uniquely as Donna, uniquely as Pearl. Nobody else can do it like you. See? We are an external expression of God. Wow. I said external, but I meant eternal. Eternal, right? We don't stop, right? We don't stop. There is no beginning and there is no end to you. Ever, ever, ever. Sugar time is the flow. It's not stagnant. We are not stagnant. My prayer for all of us is to live in sugar time. Thank you for joining us.